How does it feel to nearly hit the most iconic shot in college basketball history? Let's ask Gordon Hayward.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, folks? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, a daily national college hoop show part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your co-hosts. I'm Andy Batten. He is Isaac Shade, and you are joining us at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. I want to thank all of you who are everyday listeners, those of you hanging out with us in the Locked On College Basketball Discord community, and remind you all that you can listen to this show ad-free on Amazon Music. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's right, folks. We are joined today by Butler legend Gordon Hayward. So excited to have him on the show. We're going to have our introduction of him here and have some really fun conversations all coming up in just a second.
Man, it's a joy today to be joined on Locked On College Basketball by our bracket breakdown buddy, Gordon Hayward. Thinking back to March Madness, that was such a fun time the three of us and that whole crew had together. But seriously, joined today by Butler legend Gordon Hayward, 2010 national runner-up, 9th pick of the 2010 NBA draft, NBA All-Star, like a boss, Gordon Hayward, brother. It's great to have you. It looks like you're in a tropical paradise there in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm jealous.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Isaac. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. I think we've had great conversations, and I think we gelled pretty quickly just in those couple weeks that we did the March Madness thing. So it's fun to anytime I get to talk sports and basketball with you guys, it's a good time.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today, man. We agree. Love it. So here's where we're going, everyone, on the show today with Gordon. We're going to start by talking about his career at Butler, those 2 years, 08-09 season and the 09-10 season. We'll then talk with Gordon about the current shape of collegiate athletics and how that might have affected his own college career. And then we'll look at the Butler Bulldogs currently and going forward, how they could maybe get back to those heights of the Gordon era, of the Brad Stevens era as well. So Gordon, let's start with your time at Butler. We'll talk about it in big picture form, but look, I think the listeners and watchers would kill us if we didn't start by talking about the national championship game, Butler and Duke, the 2010 thing. You guys are a 5 seed coming in. And let me just, if people don't remember the context, let me just briefly set it up. And then we'll just talk about it a little bit there. Man, I had forgotten how close this second half was played. Neither team led by more than 5 points. We get to about 2 minutes left. Duke's up 60-55. You guys go on a 4-0 run. You had a good look to Matt Howard, just under 2 to make it 57-60. Nolan Smith misses a bunny, an absolute bunny in the lane. Shelvin Mack had a great look at a tie from 3, misses it, but Matt Howard gets an O-reb. Winds up with Matt getting a layup to cut it to 1 just under a minute. Kyle Singler misses a jumper. And then you've got this tough baseline fadeaway with Zubek flying out at you that just rims out as well. I think maybe a lot of people forget that you had a shot before the shot. Crazy stuff there. Zubek gets the rebound off of that. He's fouled, makes the first, and misses the second. And that brings us to the moment, Gordon, where you have this opportunity at one of the most iconic shots in NCAA tournament history. Just take us through you sitting there on the free throw line, watching Zubek take this second free throw. You guys are down by 2 at that point, 59-61. What unfurls next?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the shot before, because that's the shot that I always tell people is the one that I wish I could have back, the baseline fadeaway. That one felt good off my hand. It just back rammed. That was one of my favorite moves to get to, just a little step back. So that one was the one I really thought was good. When I'm sitting on the free throw line, in my mind, I'm still kind of like, for that first free throw, you're like thinking about that last shot. Like, man, dude, that was such a good look. It felt good. It back rammed. And then after that, it's like, all right, well, what do we do next here? And he misses the free throw. And I remember, so the way I got actually a lot of my rebounds, which I'm thankful of, is we would have the bottom two guys block out, and I was always in that position right by the free throw, the shot taker. And I would basically come in and clean up. That was like my job. So I got a bunch of rebounds that way. And so it was one of those things where I'm just doing my job. It back rims or whatever, and it comes right to me. I rebound it, and then it's instinctual. There's however many seconds left. I've got to get as good a shot off as I can. Matt Howard sets an unreal screen to get me open to even get
Singler, right? It was on Kyle Singler.
Yeah, to get a decent look. I mean, if he doesn't set that screen, I probably don't get a great look. And yeah, I mean, I shoot a half court shot. From my vantage point, I wasn't trying to bank it. So for me, when I let it go, I felt like it was way off. It was a kind of like a angled look at the rim. It wasn't straight on. And yeah, I mean, it ends up being obviously really, really close. Banks and almost goes in. I think they might have done like a sports science or something on it where it was like 3 inches to the left and it goes in or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it was close, but the shot that always gets me is the one before. The half court shot's a half court shot. It's not very high percentage. The other one, I felt like I made that shot all the time in practice and in scrimmages and things like that. And that's the one I wish I could have had back. And then we just have to get a stop if I hit that. So it was close.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought about the first shot as well, because I went through this, took a look, and I thought, oh, I bet that's the one that Gordon wants back, because the half court shot. I mean, it's funny you mentioned it didn't look like it was going into you, but for people watching it, I can't speak for everybody, but it really looked like that was going to be a potential all-time college basketball shot. And you mentioned the sports science thing, taking a look at how close that shot was, which had to be a little agonizing to realize how close it was, even if it didn't feel like it in the moment. But, obviously things worked out okay. Butler ends up getting to, move up conference-wise into the Big East. Things go okay for the Bulldogs, and for you, obviously, top 10 pick, productive, lengthy NBA career. But do you ever kind of think about what might have happened, or how the trajectory could have changed for either for you or for Butler or for Duke, for that matter, had that shot gone a little bit differently?
Yeah, I mean, Andy, I think at the end of the day, my life probably doesn't change at all in the sense of still go to the NBA. I mean, the run that I made is what I think allowed me to be picked in the top 10. I mean, I had a bunch of workouts, and I played I played okay in my NBA workouts, but I wasn't a lock by any means. And so I think the run really helped kind of elevate my stock. I think if I hit the shot, I think, I'm probably doing way more. Thank you. I'm probably doing way more March Madness commercials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get out of the way, Chris Jenkins. Here's Gordon Hayward.
That's right. I'm probably doing some more stuff around March Madness, but other than that, and it's probably about the same. It is. I mean, every time I think about it, it's like, man, if it only would have gone in. The other thing too is Butler goes back to the national title game the next year, which I think was even more of a Cinderella story, because everyone talks about our game against Duke, and although from a budget sense, like, I think they ran the numbers, and we were one of, if not the lowest on the lower end of men's basketball budgets. Duke was like one of, if not the highest, and from that standpoint, it was like David versus Goliath. But in our minds, I mean, we were preseason ranked in the country. Going into the tournament, we were 10th in the country. In our eyes, our 5 seed was a slap in the face. I mean, we were riding like a 20 some game win streak. We went undefeated in our conference, which was that's though it was just the Horizon League. It's really hard to do that, because you get your team's best shot. And so for us, we were like, this isn't really, I don't know what Duke ended up being ranked before the tournament, but they were what, like top 4 at least. I think they had a number 1 seed, but 1 versus 10 it's not like 1 versus unranked. Right. You know what I mean? It's so for us, it really wasn't that much of a Cinderella. But the next year, I don't even think Butler won the Horizon League in the regular season. They had to win to get in. They go on an unreal run. The games that they had were crazy. in the tournament and get all the way back to the national title game to then play in one of the worst title games of all time against Kemba Walker, where no one could throw it in the ocean, and they lose again. And so it was heartbreaking to lose once. I can only imagine heartbreaking losing twice.
Yeah.
God. Yep. The Butler was the 2 seed in the Horizon tournament that 2011 year. And you know, it's funny, Gordon, I think in this day and age with all the advanced metrics we have, it's like there's no way you guys are a 5 seed in that 2010 tournament, right? Like I think the select would have had a better understanding of how to rank teams like a Butler if we were to do that all over again. So I'm right with you there, man. And yeah, because the Bulldogs, I believe, were an 8 seed in the 2011 tournament, and that was part of the magic of that run. Gordon, you know, I joked about the Chris Jenkins shot, but what's different about like his versus yours, for example? If he misses that, no big deal. They go to overtime and maybe they still win. Maybe North Carolina wins. And I think that's what's different to me about yours is it's a literal do or die. Had yours gone in, Butler wins and the buzzer goes off. Had it not gone in, as it didn't, Duke wins and the buzzer goes off. And I think that's the do or die nature of it is what for me puts it at. If you hit that shot, it is to this day known as the single greatest shot in the NCAA tournament. Right. Would you agree or no?
Yeah, when you put that weight on it, it's like, man, I really wish I would have hit that. But yeah, no, I think that is 100% the case. When you take a game-winning shot and it's tied, to me, playing and shooting those, it's so much different than taking a game-winning shot when you're down and you're like you have to hit the shot to win. If not, you lose. Whereas I'm not saying it's easy to hit game winners, even if it's tied. It just feels like the pressure is completely off. It's like we're playing with house money here, because if I miss it, like you said, we still can go to overtime and it's all good. Versus if you miss that shot and you're down, all of a sudden it feels as if you're the reason why you lost, even though that's obviously not the case. But that's the feeling, and I think that's the pressure that builds up before. You know, it's that we just took a timeout. You know, you have 30 seconds or a minute long or whatever, and now you're thinking in your mind about this next shot I'm about to take. And when it's, hey, if I miss this, I'm going to lose the game for our team, that's a lot different feeling than I can win this for our team, but if I miss it, it's all good.
Well, I think we could probably, reminisce about this for a really, really long time, but I really do want to talk about kind of the current landscape of college basketball, which, Gordon, it could not be more different now than it was 15 years ago or even 5 years ago. Frankly, it's changed so much, and so many things may have been different in your career and many other players' careers had they been playing in an era where there was the transfer portal and NIL and now the house settlement and everything. And so I kind of want to talk about that and talk about what that might have looked like for you and maybe what your thoughts are on the current era and the changes in the sport. So we're going to get into that coming up here in just a second. But first, folks, you ever wish managing your money just felt a little bit easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's kind of like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility of and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I found that I really love having everything financial all in one single app. So instead of having to remember to use a bunch of different apps or tracking everything on a spreadsheet, it's really easy to just go to one app, have everything listed there. It makes managing that day-to-day just so much easier. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, folks, still here chatting with Gordon Hayward, Butler legend and friend of the program after joining us for our bracket breakdown in March. Gordon, really, we had a lot of great conversations in March, both on and off the show for the bracket breakdown. But I know we kind of talked about what your kind of how you perceive your college career might have gone had we been in the NIL or transfer portal era. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts. I mean, you had 2 tremendous seasons at Butler, but certainly after your freshman year, 13 points a game, 45% from 3. I wonder, if you've thought about or kind of have an idea of how that might have gone in an era where you can hit the transfer portal and you can have these high profile programs, calling and making you offers and being able to pay you now very directly through the school, and for the last couple of years at least pay you for your name, image, likeness. How much do you think that would have changed your college career and maybe some of your teammates around you?
Yeah, I think it would have definitely impacted my career. I was a late bloomer coming out of high school, so I wasn't very highly recruited. And then after that first year, I played okay that freshman season. And, then I play on Team USA in the U19. And that's, I think, kind of the tournament that catapulted me onto some draft boards and I think opened some eyes. And I think because of that, if I would have been able to transfer, I think it would have been very hard to turn down, at the time, life-changing money to go to a bigger school and compete. And not that Butler, I think they're obviously now in the Big East. Back then, as we talked about, they were in the Horizon. You're not on national TV all the time. You're not playing against the blue bloods of schools. Back when I was at Butler too, we were trying everything to get home and aways with Purdue and IU and couldn't do it because those schools, you don't want to schedule a Butler because if you lose, you lost to a mid-major, and if you win, well, you were supposed to win. It's just Butler. And so it's a lose-lose for those guys. And so so I didn't get a chance. So all saying that I didn't get a chance to play some of those big time schools. So if a school comes offering and now I get to be in the Big Ten or I get to be in the ACC or, wherever it was, like I said, I really think it would have been hard to turn down. And I probably would have left after my freshman year to go to another school.
And it's interesting because what you were saying, being a little bit of a late bloomer, it's not like you probably would have gone somewhere else first, right? Like Butler was a logical destination for a late bloomer to be like, yeah, let's go there. But like just in a hypothetical world, have you ever thought about like, hey, if I hadn't been a late bloomer, or if I had played in this transfer portal era, what are some schools you would have enjoyed going to or had pursuing you?
That's a great question. So my parents were both Purdue grads. I know we've talked about that before. And so Purdue kind of came in. Purdue was like, I was brainwashed to go to Purdue my whole life. Purdue came in late and offered a scholarship, but it just didn't feel right. And Matt Painter and I have laughed about that since then. But I think I would have taken obviously I would have taken another look at Purdue. I think I would have enjoyed visiting other schools and seeing what they had to offer. I was kind of a homebody, so I don't know. I think it would have been really cool to go and visit schools. I don't know if I would have pulled the trigger and left the state. But I would have for sure loved to go and check some of these different schools out. I don't know. It's so much different. Like the one bigger school that I went to and visited was Michigan. And that was like an unofficial visit. And I mean, everything was just bigger there. And it's hard to, just the like the equipment, the practice facility, all that type of stuff. Butler didn't have that, and Purdue's at the time that I went wasn't that great either. So I think if I would have went and visited some of these bigger schools that had that stuff, it would have been really hard to not get like sucked into that and been like, yeah, I want to go here.
Was that the Tommy Amaker era or the Beeline era?
That was Beeline.
Yeah.
That was Beeline. Yeah. So I think he had just gotten there a couple years prior.
Okay.
But I really liked Beeline. But what happened was they said, hey, we like you as a player. We want you to drive back up here again or come back up here again. And then we'll do an official visit. And my mom, I went with my mom and dad. We drove from Indy, and my mom said, all right, I want you to drive back from Michigan to Indianapolis, and because that's what you'll be doing if you went to Michigan. And so I drove the way back. I think it was like 6 hours or something, 5-6 hours, whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. It's too far away, which sounds crazy. It's like not even that far. but I ended up not, because of that, I was like, you know what? I don't even need to go up there and visit. And so just stayed in Indianapolis at Butler.
Speaking more broadly about the NIL, you kind of mentioned like it would have been hard to turn down that life-changing money. And obviously, not knowing at the time whether an NBA career was going to pan out or a professional career at all. I mean, it's impossible to know. Like, it makes total sense to, hey, I'm coming from a small school and I had this great year and these programs are offering me, like, I totally understand the idea of how could I turn that down. So when you see other players making the decisions that they're making now in the modern era, I know, many fans can be frustrated and struggle with, hey, my team lost 5-6 guys, or, I think of programs, out West here that, all of their starters transferred to other power conference programs. And it's just so challenging. But at the same time, with that perspective that you have of a player who was at a mid-major school, are you more sympathetic to the players who choose to go, make that life-changing money and go take a couple $1 million for 1 year of college basketball? And do you kind of think that that's something that, you're in favor of for the players, even in a situation where the guardrails aren't really there right now for the programs?
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard topic to talk about because I see both sides. I mean, as a fan of Butler's now, it sucks. I mean, because we don't have the money that some of these other schools have. We don't have the facilities, and we'll talk about maybe later this new salary cap. So now supposedly the money is going to be the same, but we all know it's not going to be. And also the facilities are completely different from one place to the other. And so as I totally get it from a player's standpoint. And I think if most fans would put themselves in a player's shoes, they would all do the same thing, and they would all transfer probably and go to a place where they could either make more money, or if you're transferring the other way, because it happens the other way too, going to a place where maybe you're not going down a level, quote unquote, to a mid-major, but now you get to be the guy and now you're playing and now you get all the shots. Like, I think people if you put yourself in the player's perspective, you'd be like, okay, I totally get it, and I would probably transfer as well. It just sucks because it makes it so it's really hard for the smaller schools to compete at the national level, at we're going to win a title level, because unless you have a lucky run and you get a recruit who maybe he has a personal connection to a school, and then maybe that allows them to make a run. As you mentioned, you could have schools that do really well 1 year and all 5 starters are gone the next year. And they're young. They're maybe sophomores. It's like they're not good enough maybe to go to the NBA, but they're making the leap to a bigger school. And so that, I don't know, that kind of sucks as like a Butler fan, as a mid-major fan. The other thing that's interesting, and one of my next door neighbor is Matt Carroll, and he played at Notre Dame and in the NBA for a long time. And his sons are going through the process of getting recruited. And the other thing that's, I think, really, I don't like this part of the game. I don't know how you fix it, but unless you are a top 20 guy in the country, you're probably not going to a Tennessee. You're not going to an Alabama. You're not going to, in the basketball sense, North Carolina or Duke or whatever, because they're just going to go get a junior who's had a really good season at a Butler or at North Dakota State or wherever they may be. They're 3 years older than you. Like, how are you supposed to compete against that? So it almost makes it so unless you're one of those top 20 guys, you have to go to a small school, try to then grind your way up for 2 years. So that way, maybe if you had a dream of playing at North Carolina, you're from North Carolina area, you want to play, but you almost have to go there for 2 years to then. It almost like takes away the development, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, do those types of schools get somebody who they think they can develop anymore, or do they just say, screw that, we're just going to go get a junior every single year who is the best junior in the conference and compete that way?
To your point, Gordon, I'm getting ahead of it, but next or earlier this week on the show on Wednesday, I had Seton Hall assistant coach Corey Lowry on for an interview, and he talked to, literally Seton Hall has 0 freshmen on their roster this upcoming season. It's 3 returners and a whole bunch of transfers. And so that puts an exact example of what you're talking about there, of how difficult it is for people like Matt's kids who are trying to work their way in. So that's definitely going to be something for us all to keep our eyes on as we roll into this new era. Speaking of which, Gordon previewed it a little bit there, but we want to look at like, man, what is the shape of this money? Do Big East schools get to take advantage of it a little bit since they ain't got the football teams to pay out some of the rev share too? We'll talk about that and a few other things to wrap up the show coming up in just a second. By the way, for those of you listening to this show, you are missing out because Gordon is looking fresh, literally just got his haircut, and you need to go to the YouTube version. We're just in time for the show, and you need to go check that out. Andy, did you get your haircut recently or anything?
My hair's been cut since I was 19 years old, the same exact way because of genetics. So I am good with where it's at right now.
But you've got the strong beard going.
I got the beard. Yeah, it grows well here. I'm happy about that.
Your follicles moved south. Way to go. Congrats to you. All right. So we're talking with Gordon, having some great conversations today about the shape of collegiate athletics and where it's at. And that's the conversation we want to carry on right now. Obviously, Gordon mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we are now in this era of revenue share that schools can opt into. Obviously, all the power conference schools are doing that. A lot of the Big East schools have it a little bit different, though, because the number is the same no matter where you go. Obviously, schools can choose whether they want to use all $20.5 million or not. But there's a potential that Big East schools have a little bit of a leg up because they don't have to share that money with football. Obviously, schools can choose what sports get what percentage of that revenue share. Gordon, do you see, we talked about how much more difficult it is for Butler and some of the other schools. Do you see, though, a potential leg up or advantage for the Bulldogs at not having to share this money with football?
So I think on paper, I would say yes. Just the fact of not having a football team certainly does help you get more money only for the basketball team. However, it's my understanding that you can still, as an athlete, you can still get paid now through, what did they say? Well, it's like the wording, like fair market deals.
Yeah.
Through the third party NIL deals that we've known. Yeah.
Yeah. So it almost, it's almost like, okay, on the one hand, the schools can now pay, which is different than it was 20 years ago. But on the other hand, it's like now we're back to 20 years ago where they have to potentially police all these endorsement deals, and who's to say what's right and what's not. And so now we're in this gray area again. So I don't think that these bigger schools are not going to be able to pay people. I think they're just going to have to find an alternative way to pay them like they always have. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And whether that's over or under the table with those payments, right? Like, come on.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
That's right. So and not to mention, I mentioned it earlier, but it's those bigger schools will still have the best facilities. They'll still have all this stuff that some of the smaller schools in the Big East don't. But on paper, you're right. It's the Big East schools without the football team should be able to over the table pay their guys better.
So, Gordon, kind of looking at Butler more specifically for this kind of upcoming season in the last few years, they've been a team that's kind of struggled to get out of the middle area of the Big East the last few years. Obviously, UConn's been incredible, and now St. John's has been, on this big run under Coach Pitino, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. And so when you kind of look at Butler, and they brought in a couple transfers, a couple of nice players. They get Michael Ajayi coming over from Gonzaga, Jalen Jackson coming up from Fort Wayne. Like, how are you kind of feeling about this particular team and kind of, from what you saw from them last year and what you think about the coaching staff of kind of where they're at heading into this upcoming season?
Yeah. So full transparency here, because of the transfers, it's hard for me to sit here and be able to say, yeah, I know exactly what the team's going to look like. I mean, I think they lost 4 or 5 of their great players last year. I had a chance to watch those guys up close in the Big East, which made me wish that we were in the Big East, being in the Garden, watching that tournament. I mean, it was electric. It was really cool. Butler actually played St. John's, which was, the crowd was all into it. It was a really cool atmosphere. But yeah, like I said, I mean, they almost have a new team. I think Bizjack is coming back, and he should be better.
What a name! That's one of the best names in college basketball, man.
He's got some talent, and I'd love to see him hopefully develop and improve. from last year. I hope he's been working in the summer, but they have McCaffrey's younger brother, I think, is coming in as a freshman, and he's supposed to be pretty good. But it's like, I don't know what they're going to look like because they have so many transfers. And so, I think that's now the job of all coaching staffs across the country is somehow you have to get these guys that are in completely different situations last year to come together in 1 year, basically, because it seems like everywhere is just it's like a 1 year team, and try to hopefully get them to gel and play for one goal. And that's winning. And, hopefully they need to do, I do know they need to get going here because we've had a couple down years. So I think this year there's probably some pressure.
I'm just so fascinated by how a coaching staff could scout and kind of value, like obviously scouting high schoolers is tough and tricky. And, even the best coaches miss on guys regularly, but I'll use Ajayi as the example because I'm familiar with him because I watched him at Pepperdine 2 years ago. And then I watched every one of his games at Gonzaga last year. And he's a guy who, averaged 18 a game at Pepperdine, was the guy over like 12 shot attempts per game. He was the focal point of their offense. Gonzaga brings him in as like a backup power forward. And he was lost. I mean, he got benched at halftime of a game because he had 4 turnovers. Like he could not figure out the offense and was really struggling with the system. And he's a good kid. He's a good player when he's kind of filling that kind of ball dominant role, but he didn't do that at Gonzaga, and Gonzaga kind of, hoped he would be able to adjust to a role, and he didn't. And so now he goes to Butler, where it's probably going to be a mix. He's not going to be the guy he was at Pepperdine, but he's probably going to play more than he did at Gonzaga. Is this going to work? I have no idea. And I think anybody telling you convincingly is lying, or at least, just guessing, because it's so difficult. And I think about that from there's thousands of players kind of similar to that who have played these, not only played at different schools, but have played such different roles that it's hard to even envision, like, how do I project what this player is going to look like in my system, in the role I envision for them, because you're not always getting a chance to see them do that.
100%. And it puts more of an emphasis on this GM role, that almost all these schools have now. I think we've seen the last couple of years, I think there is something to building culture, having a culture, having guys that fit what you want to do. You can't just take guys from different spots that had good statistical years and put them on a team and expect it to work and just pay them a bunch of money. We've seen that not pan out.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So it will be interesting to see how he does with us, and which player are you going to get? A lot of that determines how the coach puts him and how like you said, the system he's in, but also, is he going to get the ball? I mean, you can only do so much without the ball, and there is only one basketball on the court. So
wait, are you serious?
Yeah, only one.
That's crazy.
Only one. As coaches would tell you when they're trying to get you to come to your school, it makes it seem like everyone's going to be the man. And I'm here to tell you, Isaac, there's only one basketball.
Man, this is revelatory, Gordon Hayward. I love it. No, I mean, look, and thinking about coaches and GMs and stuff, obviously for you, both collegiately and at the NBA level, you had an opportunity to play for one of the greatest coaches of our era in Brad Stevens. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And now it's Coach Mata coming into his 4th year there at Butler. And, obviously all those years at Ohio State feels like he's the type of coach who should be able to get things going in the right direction. But you combine that, as you were talking about in this day and age, with the GM, with Tony coming in to be the GM. And so how does that alignment have to work in order for Butler to succeed in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit like a baby NBA, you can't just have a coach who has one vision and a GM who has another, and you have to be aligned. The GM has to know what type of players the coach is going to play and utilize and wants for his system. And I think it's just really important now, and makes it even harder because you have to go scour the country for not only guys that can play, but the right guy. And so it makes it kind of fun and different, because on the one hand, you're getting you could have a bad year, and then the next year you could be a contender.
Yeah.
Because of the way the transfer portal works, and because of if you have a new coach or you get somebody that's a difference maker, that in that position, maybe somebody else wasn't playing him like a Gonzaga, and maybe he comes to Butler and balls out.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that shift from worst in the league to best in the league, which is fun. However, it's also like, man, it's like every year is a new team, and so it's harder to root for certain guys and the development of players, but time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we here at Locked On College Basketball will certainly be cheering for the fight in Tony Hinkle's this year, and we'll see what can happen there at one of the most iconic venues in all of college basketball. Gordon,
Have you guys been there?
No,
dude,
never.
My buddy got to go when I was a senior at Gonzaga. They played Butler on the road. That was the game where David Stockton passed the ball directly to Roosevelt Jones, and he hit a game winner. And I'm still very salty about it. But we had a contest for one other student to go to the game, and my buddy won, and I didn't, and so I didn't get to go. And I really wish I did, because that field house seems absolutely incredible.
You guys have to go there. Maybe you could do a show up around the top of it or something. I mean, I could probably pull some strings, get you guys some access.
I think it'd be fun for the three of us to do a show there together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm in.
That's right.
Okay. Maybe let's make that happen like next summer or something, boys. Let's get these wheels in motion, and we'll see what we can do. You guys, great to have Gordon on the show with us today. So grateful for his insights, his experience, and wisdom. Obviously, we are neither as tall or as handsome as he is, but man, it's an honor to get to be together, hanging out. So Gordon, thanks so much for joining us. Gang, if you want more of this content and you don't want to miss out on a second of Locked On College Basketball this summer, or even as we get into the season, make sure you are subscribed both on YouTube and audio so you don't miss a single second. If you want to be a junkie with us and talk college basketball all the time, we've got the Locked On College Basketball Discord. It's a great community. We're chatting in there always. You can find that link in the show notes. It's absolutely free to join. As always, we want to say apologies to the Lawyer family and I guess Gordon's parents, who are alums of that school. Let's go Wild Popes. Cheers to the McBruins. And until next week, peace.
Peace.